5 fishermen stranded about a quarter of a mile out on the ice.
The 5 saw a crack in the ice when they went fishing in the morning, but just a few hours later, that crack turned into a gaping hole.
By the time we got to them, it was about 100 to 150 feet wide it was wide open water.
Survival at sea is never guaranteed, and for some fishermen, a routine trip turned into a long fight for survival.
Hi, sir. Do you speak English?
Stranded at the sea, they battled harsh conditions until they were rescued. So hang on for the unbelievable times when fishermen signaled for help and got an answer.
We have an incredible story of survival out of Western Australia. 11 Indonesian fishermen rescued after nearly a week without any food or water.
A helicopter crew was flying over a remote island off Western Australia's coast when they spotted something strange. People were waving to be seen. Well, they were lucky, because as the chopper flew lower, the situation became clear. Those were fishermen stranded on the island. For 6 days, they had no food, no water, and no way to call for help. Their boat had been wrecked by a powerful cyclone, leaving them trapped. Rescue teams from Broome, nearly 300 kilometers away, rushed in. One by one, the fishermen were lifted to safety. They were later cleared to fly home, but 9 others from their crew are still missing. Well, the search continues for the rest. Ice trap. A massive rescue operation unfolded in Russia's remote Far East after 139 fishermen found themselves stranded on an ice floe, drifting out to sea. Helicopters and boats were sent to bring them back to shore, battling freezing winds and shifting ice. But not everyone was eager to be saved. Some refused to leave without their catch, standing firm even as the ice beneath them continued to break away. Rescuers had to convince them that no fish was worth the risk. In the end, all 139 fishermen were brought to safety, some barely moving, but alive. Island survival.
I just got dropped off by my local guide here on a remote island in the Indian Ocean of Southeast Asia. I'm out here for a handful of nights, surviving off the land, catching what I can, eating what I find. I didn't bring any food, any water, any kind of shelter.
Stranded on a remote island, the YouTuber faces the challenges of survival head-on. With no choice but to adapt, he crafts a fishing spear, catches fish, and builds a makeshift shelter. Each day was a battle, finding food, braving the elements, and navigating isolation. Success and struggle go hand in hand. Roasting fish over a fire, exploring for resources, and making tools become part of daily life. Despite the hardships, there's an undeniable beauty in nature's raw simplicity. In the middle of the wild, survival becomes a way of life. Icebreaker.
A dangerous ice rescue on Lake Winnebago.
5 fishermen stranded about a quarter of a mile out on the ice.
5 fishermen got stuck on Lake Winnebago when the ice beneath them cracked and drifted away. They were about a quarter mile from shore with no way back. A 911 call from a scared teenager sent rescue teams rushing. The situation got worse, fast. The crack turned into a huge gap, leaving only open water between them and the land.
By the time we got to them, it was about 100 to 150 feet wide it was wide open water.
With no life jackets, they were in a risky situation. Ice rescue crews worked quickly, pulling each fisherman to safety. Officials warned that the lake was too risky to be on, but luckily, this time, everyone made it out alive.
The 5 saw a crack in the ice when they went fishing in the morning, but just a few hours later, that crack turned into a gaping hole.
Coastal survival. Alone on the rugged coast of North Queensland, a seasoned adventurer stuck near the mangroves took in the wild surroundings. With no camp set up, he relied on whatever he could find, knowing survival here wasn't easy, and there was no guarantee of making it back home. As the sun dipped low, he searched the shallows for mud crabs.
On the edge of the water here, looking for mud crabs, looking for big, giant, blue or green nippered mud crab.
Always aware of the crocodiles nearby. After some effort, a large one-clawed crab became his dinner. As darkness fell, he he tossed fish scraps into the water, only to see a massive grouper swallow them whole. From across the river, glowing eyes watched him closely. It was proof that the wild coast held endless surprises, and every day was a fight to see the next. We can only hope he will be rescued soon.
What?
Kayak rescue.
Here, mate. Are you okay?
A group of boaters rescued a stranded kayaker who had capsized. They noticed him floating in the water and quickly came to his aid. After pulling him onto their boat, they helped recover his kayak and belongings.
Oh, it's pretty heavy.
The kayaker had launched from shore, but overturned, possibly due to a wave. While he was shaken, he decided to paddle back to shore on his own. The rescuers advised him to get a marine radio for safety, as drifting alone at sea can be risky. Fortunately, they spotted him in time. Island rescue.
There's maybe 3 weeks worth of survival on this tree, another at least month down there, so we got a couple of months of hydration just at the top of these trees.
Stranded on a deserted island, a lone survivor lived on coconuts and used a spear made from a stingray barb to catch fish. Days went by as he spent time spearing fish and cooking over a fire. But one night, while searching the shoreline, he found a weathered cross half buried in the sand. It made him wonder who had passed away there, and if he was really alone.
Oh man, I've got goosebumps hectically. How did I not notice that? There's a cross there. How did I not see that before?
Feeling more determined, he built a big signal flag, and just as he started losing hope, a distant boat appeared, and rescue finally arrived just in time. Wilderness mystery. A rescue team was sent deep into the Alaskan wilderness after the hikers failed to return. Their last known location was near the strange footprints. Helicopters scanned the area, but nothing seemed out of place until they found abandoned gear, scattered as if dropped in a hurry. The team pressed on, following faint tracks in the snow. Then, their radios cut out. A chilling silence filled the air. Suddenly, one of them shouted as a shadow moved, and they rushed forward but found nothing. Just more footprints, leading nowhere. Ice rescue.
Lots of snow and lots of ice.
52 people were rescued after being trapped in Antarctic ice for over a week. The group, including scientists and tourists, had been stranded since Christmas Eve when their expedition ship got stuck in ice. Rescue teams faced extreme conditions: 10-foot thick ice, strong winds, and heavy snow. After days of effort, a Chinese helicopter found a safe landing spot and transferred the passengers to an Australian icebreaker. The expedition had left New Zealand in November to honor the explorers' journey. Despite the tough situation, those on board kept their spirits high, even celebrating the new year with a special song. They later expressed their gratitude to the rescuers who worked tirelessly to bring them to safety. Rocky trap. While fishing deep in the ocean, 6 Chinese fishermen found themselves in a life-threatening situation. Their boat ran aground off the coast of Guangdong, South China, leaving them stranded on a rocky outcrop. With waves crashing around them, there was no way to escape. A helicopter soon arrived, but landing was impossible. So, a rescuer was lowered down, battling harsh winds and unstable ground. One by one, the fishermen were pulled up with a rope in a tense and daring operation. Fortunately, all 6 were brought to safety just in time. Island survival. An explorer had faced harsh landscapes before, but nothing like this. Washed ashore on a remote island, he quickly learned to survive. He lived on coconuts for months to stay hydrated. Using a stingray barb, he made a spear to catch fish. He roasted oysters over a crackling fire for food. But one restless night, the explorer walked along the shoreline and found a weathered cross from 1912 standing in the sand. Pushing away the unease, he worked on perfecting his spear. He practiced each throw until it felt precise. Watching the horizon, he stayed hopeful, ready to signal any passing ship. Ice Island. More than 200 fishermen in Russia's Sakhalin region found themselves stranded on a massive ice floe after it suddenly broke away from the shore. They had been fishing at Mordvinov Bay when the ice beneath them drifted out to sea, leaving them trapped with no way back. As soon as the authorities were alerted, Russia's emergency ministry, Emercom, launched a rescue operation. A team of 78 personnel and a Mi-8 helicopter were sent to bring them to safety. The mission was risky, but after hours of effort, all 224 fishermen were rescued. This isn't the first time ice floes have broken away in this region. Officials keep a close watch, but every winter, fishermen still find themselves caught in these risky situations. Frozen rescue. In Tangshan City, North China, on December 25, 2017, a strange incident took place. A local man fell into an ice hole while ice fishing, struggling to stay above the freezing water. A firefighter crawled across the fragile ice, carefully carrying a rope toward him. Another rescuer wrapped himself in the rope and inched closer, risking everything to reach the man. After a tense effort, the local was pulled from the icy water and saved by the firefighters just in time. Ice save.
Стой, не дергайся, не дергайся.
A fisherman in Ukraine used quick thinking to save a boy stranded on a floating block of ice in the middle of a freezing river. With no other way to reach him, he cast his fishing rod, carefully aiming the line toward the boy. The boy grabbed hold, and the fisherman slowly pulled him toward the riverbank. The icy waters of Kiev were very cold, and drifting further could have been risky. Thankfully, the rescue worked, and the boy safely stepped onto the bank without even getting wet.
Ну вот и все. А вот сейчас ремня тебе дать бы.
Capsized nightmare.
The boat has flipped. That's Denny's contender. $250,000 boat upside down.
Spending $250,000 on a boat is exciting until it flips over in the middle of the ocean. A group of fishermen were stranded after their boat capsized. They tried calling for help, but every emergency call failed. Even with a full signal, no one answered. Panic set in when one of them swam to the sinking boat to grab flares and a rescue beacon. Then they saw a yacht far away and walked 10 kilometers to a headland, lit the flares, and blew the horn. The yacht called the Coast Guard, but rough seas delayed the rescue for days. Finally, a helicopter sent by a family member arrived. They were saved, but their gear was left behind. This was a rescue they would never forget.
Papa's landing at 3. He wants you fully ready because he needs to get back before dark. Your friends and family have arranged this.
Storm trap. A fisherman's usual day took a dangerous turn when the rising water trapped him on a small island. With no way to escape, he had no choice but to wait for help. Luckily, rescuers were patrolling nearby and spotted him stranded. However, reaching him was no easy task. After a tense struggle against the rushing water, they finally pulled him to safety. A lucky escape, all thanks to perfect timing. Sea castaways.
Hi, sir. Do you speak English?
A helicopter with its crew flying over the Pacific couldn't believe what they saw. A man and his dog stuck alone in the middle of the sea. For 3 months, they hovered alone at sea, completely cut off from the world. He had set sail from Mexico's Baja Peninsula, aiming for French Polynesia, but disaster struck weeks into the journey. A heavy storm knocked out his boat's electricity, leaving him stranded in the vast Pacific. With no supplies left, he had no choice but to survive on raw fish and rainwater. Just when hope seems lost, a tuna fishing crew spotted his drifting catamaran. The helicopter dropped supplies before a speedboat arrived to pull them to safety. After months of isolation, they were finally going home.
Where are you from? I'm from Australia. I departed Mexico on... Where from Mexico? La Paz. La Paz.
Rock rescue.
We first of all saw a cooler on the rocks, and then one of us spotted... So there's somebody there.
Moving near a remote island off Australia, a TV crew suddenly noticed a strange thing on the rocks. A cooler sitting alone, and then a man waving for help. The River Monsters team, filming for Animal Planet, realized a fisherman had been stranded there for 2 days after being separated from his boat. With no food or water and temperatures reaching 110 degrees, he was weak and disoriented. Another day alone could have been fatal. The crew quickly pulled him onto their boat and rushed him for medical care. They came looking for fish, but ended up saving a man fighting to survive.
Got lucky here down here because I see turtle nets and heaps of empty bottles, so I was hoping that one of the bottles might have a bit of water in it.
Ocean drift.
I'm going to be surviving on this life raft for the next 24 hours.
Getting stuck in the middle of the ocean wasn't part of the plan, but that's exactly what happened to one adventurer. He floated on a wooden raft with no supplies, just him and the endless sea. His only food was raw fish. There was no way to call for help. The waves carried him further, and each passing day made escape seem impossible. He watched the horizon, hoping a boat would appear, but the sea remained empty. Time was running out. If no one found him soon, he'd have to find a way to survive on his own.
Right now, I'm laying on a raft in over 2,000 meters of water that's absolutely covered in bird poo.
Shark waters.
I realize I'm in a horrible situation. There's feeding going on. At this point, we're at mid-outgoing tide. And of course, oh yeah, shoals, oh yeah, heavy bull shark.
A fisherman set out for a short trip off the coast of Florida, but by nightfall, he was fighting for his life. His kayak had taken on water and sunk, leaving him stranded in an area where sharks swim. For 5 hours, he battled exhaustion and freezing temperatures. His body froze, and he couldn't move at all. Just as hope faded, a boat appeared in the darkness. A captain, delayed by a mechanical issue, had unknowingly set off at the perfect time. Spotting the struggling man, he threw a life sling and pulled him aboard. A rescue that seemed like fate, one man saved, and a new friendship began on the water.
I was screaming, "Mayday, Mayday, I'm a fisherman in the water, I have no vessel."
Endless storms.
That dramatic rescue at sea, 2 boaters and their dogs lost for nearly 5 months, then finally saved by the Navy. The whole rescue captured on camera.
A routine sailing trip turned into a 5-month nightmare for 2 boaters and their dogs. They set off from Honolulu, heading for Tahiti, but disaster struck early. Their boat's motor failed, and soon after, the sails snapped. With no way to call for help, they stuck in the vast ocean, facing 3 massive storms and 2 terrifying shark strikes. Weeks turned into months as their distress calls went unanswered. Just when hope seemed lost, a fishing boat finally heard their signal. The U.S. Navy's USS Ashland reached them 900 miles off Japan's coast, bringing an end to their test. And against all odds, they survived.
God, we've been rescued. I have tears in my eyes as I say this. It was incredibly emotional.
Wave siege. While fishing in East China's Shandong province, a boat became stranded on rocks as strong winds and towering waves kept hitting it hard. 7 crew members were trapped on board, just 100 meters from shore, with waves constantly slamming against the boat. Rescuers braved the rough waters, dragging their way along a rope to reach the stranded fishermen. It was an overnight battle against nature, but all crew members were brought to safety. Moments after the last man was rescued, the boat was swallowed by the sea, completely smashed apart by the powerful waves. Vanished brothers.
Breaking news, and 2 fishermen missing in the state's southeast have just been found.
2 fishermen went missing off the southeast coast, and things weren't looking good as hours passed, and search teams feared they might not make it. Rescue crews searched the waters near Borden Rocks, hoping for a sign. Finally, they spotted something, a faint signal from a remote beach. The brothers were alive. They had gone out early to check their craypots near Boston Point, but never came back. A huge search team, including SES volunteers, water rescue units, and an air crew, worked fast to bring them home. It was a close call. If help had come any later, they might not have made it.
A massive air and sea search had been underway. These pictures just in from a member of the search team.
Capsized survival. On April 29, 2019, in Liaodong Bay, China, 4 fishermen found themselves stranded after their fishing sailboat capsized. Rough sea conditions had broken the boat's ability to float, leaving them helpless in the open water. A passing Chinese Navy vessel picked up its distress signal and quickly launched a rescue operation. The crew managed to bring all 4 fishermen aboard, ensuring their safety. Thanks to the timely intervention, their conditions stabilized, preventing what could have been worse. Sea stranded.
हम लोग यहाँ पे मच्छी पकड़ने के लिए आए थे, लेकिन हालात ऐसे हुई कि यहाँ पे तूफान आ गया और हमारी बोट भी जो है खराब हो गई.
Near Natrani Island, 24 people from Batkal were stranded in the middle of the sea after their boat suddenly broke down. They stayed trapped for a long time, with no help in sight, surrounded by endless water. The Indian Coast Guard finally spotted them and launched a tense rescue operation. One by one, they were pulled to safety and taken to Karwar. Thanks to the timely response, all 24 people made it back unharmed. Ocean drift. A group of fishermen from Papua New Guinea found themselves stranded in the open sea near the equator after their boat suddenly ran out of fuel and battery power. With no way to call for help, they drifted helplessly for 9 long hours, surrounded by endless water. Just when hope was fading, China's research icebreaker Shualong 2, on a scientific mission, spotted them. The crew acted fast, towing their boat for 33 hours to a safe meeting point where a local vessel was waiting. Thanks to Shualong 2, all 4 fishermen were rescued and brought to safety. Lost adrift.
It's a story that has the whole world scratching its head. How can this man, they're wondering, Jose Salvador Alvarenga, survive for more than 13 months stranded on a broken down boat?
Most people remember Tom Hanks in Castaway, but a real-life survival story left everyone stunned. In December 2012, a fisherman set out from Mexico with a companion. What was supposed to be a routine fishing trip turned into a nightmare. A storm pushed their boat off course, leaving them stranded in the Pacific Ocean. Days turned into weeks. With no supplies, they had to rely on rainwater, fish, and even turtles to survive. His companion didn't make it, but he refused to give up. He stuck for over a year, 13 months in total, before finally reaching the Marshall Islands, over 6,600 miles away. Experts debated whether his survival was even possible, but he insisted that he never lost hope. His story remains one of the most unbelievable survival cases ever recorded. Storm survival. Spending a night at sea is one thing, but spending it in a hurricane with nothing but an ice chest to hold onto? That's what happened to a fisherman near Madeira Beach, Florida. His boat broke down, and before he could fix it, the storm hit. He got one radio call out to the Coast Guard, then silence. Eventually, rescuers found him 30 miles off Longboat Key, still holding onto that ice chest for dear life. A helicopter crew pulled him up just in time. He made it out alive, but his boat? That part of the story is still missing. Storm rescue. While fishing in the deep oceans, 5 fishermen were left stranded after a severe rainstorm hit East China's Shandong province. One fishing boat carrying 3 men had run aground 4 nautical miles from the coast. Another vessel with 2 crew members got caught in the anchor chain of a boat coming back. The police in Dongying City responded quickly, but the harsh conditions made a direct rescue impossible. Maritime authorities stepped in, and a helicopter was deployed to airlift all 5 fishermen to safety. Despite the storm, the swift action ensured that everyone made it back to shore unharmed. Missing fishermen.
The story is unbelievable. Your father goes missing at sea. He's rescued when they had given him up for dead, and now it's happened again.
A fisherman who once survived being lost at sea has gone missing again. Just a few times ago, he was found drifting for days without food or water. A survival story many called a miracle. After his rescue, he reunited with his family, cherishing moments they thought would never come. But now, tragedy has struck again. His boat was discovered smashed on a reef in Hawaii. With no sign of him, his family refuses to give up, holding on to hope for another miracle to bring him home safely once more.
got to spend 10 days with my dad after the last. Being reunited as a family for those 10 days, it meant a lot.
Lockdown stranding. Hundreds of Indian fishermen stranded at sea for nearly a month finally managed to dock in Maharashtra after being denied entry at 2 ports during the nationwide coronavirus lockdown. The men were working in the Arabian Sea on March 24th when Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced an almost instant 21-day lockdown, later extended to May 3rd. They first attempted to dock at Nargol in Gujarat, but locals, fearing they carried the virus, did not allow them to get off the boat. At Umbergaon, another Gujarat port, they faced an even harsher response. Locals even threw stones at them from a bridge. Helicopter rescue. In Jujian, China, on September 20th, 2019, 9 fishermen were left stranded after their boat broke down about 55 miles southwest of Jujian Island. With no way to return, they were stuck in the middle of the ocean. Rescue teams quickly responded, sending 2 helicopters to the scene. 6 fishermen were safely lifted into the helicopters, while a nearby vessel rescued the remaining 3. Thanks to the fast action of the rescue teams, all 9 fishermen were brought to safety without harm. Adrift nightmare.
3 boaters had to be rescued this morning off Marco Island. The men say their engine failed and their radio had a broken microphone.
Drifting in the open sea with no way to call for help. That's the nightmare 3 fishermen faced. Their boat broke down 23 miles from shore. The radio worked, but the microphone was corroded. No cell service, and no way to reach anyone. As hours passed, with nowhere to go, they huddled inside storage compartments, hoping for daylight. Back home, their families panicked. A friend tipped off the Coast Guard, but the search wouldn't be easy. Then, a flare lit up the sky. A rescue plane spotted them and circled in. They made it back, but one thing's for sure, they won't head out unprepared again. Cooler survival. A lone fisherman found himself in a fight for survival in the vast Gulf of Mexico after his boat suddenly capsized. With nothing else to hold on to, he attached tightly to a floating cooler, battling exhaustion and waves. As time went by, hope began to fade while he drifted farther from where his boat had sunk. Thankfully, a U.S. Coast Guard crew, alerted to the emergency, launched a search mission. Scanning the wide waters, they finally spotted the fisherman struggling to stay afloat. A rescue swimmer was lowered into the water, and soon the man was pulled to safety. Somehow, he made it through this scary experience. Tower rescue. A daring and risky rescue took place at Barnagate Inlet when 2 fishermen got trapped on a tower as high tide rolled in. Waves crashed all around them, and there was no way to reach them by foot or boat. On the ground, a first aid member gave the signal to his partner that it was time to act. A rescue helicopter hovered above as a winchman was lowered toward the stranded fishermen. Both guided the rescue from below, knowing every second counted as the water kept rising. Thankfully, help was on the way. Ice rescue.
Out of Catawba Island following that ice floe rescue this evening.
4 fishermen found themselves stranded on an ice floe in Lake Erie after strong winds broke the ice away from the shore near Catawba Island. Realizing the risk, they used a VHF radio to call for help.
Taking the shanty down, there's a total of 4 people standing out there.
A move that likely saved their lives. The U.S. Coast Guard and local first responders quickly launched a rescue mission. An airboat and a helicopter were deployed, reaching the fishermen in just 45 minutes. Thankfully, all 4 were brought back to safety. Officials warn that no ice is ever truly safe, urging caution for future trips.
We're going to discourage people from hobbies. Just exercise safety precautions. Cell phones don't always work out here in Catawba Island, so bring a VHF handheld radio would be a good way. That's actually how we got in contact with the fishermen.
Capsized survival. 3 fishermen vanished for a week after leaving Matagorda Bay, Texas on August 22nd. When they didn't return, the Coast Guard launched a massive search covering over 30,000 square nautical miles. Despite calling off the search one day, a passing ship spotted the men the next day, sitting on top of their capsized boat, 130 miles from where they started. Rescuers rushed to their aid, but the men declined medical help. Their survival after a week at sea marked a remarkable ending to their struggle. River stranding.
4 fishermen were stranded at the Tawi River after there was a sudden increase in the flow of water. The police control room was informed. They rushed to the spot immediately.
The Tawi River flowed calmly as 4 fishermen went about their usual routine. The day seemed like any other until the water level started rising fast. Within moments, they found themselves stranded, unable to escape the surging current. They made a call for help, and the police control room responded immediately. SDRF and NDRF teams arrived to assess the situation. Despite their best efforts, the mission proved too challenging. That's when they turned to the Indian Air Force. Cave discovery. While diving deep underwater, a diver spotted a cave. But what caught his attention was a warning board placed in the depths, stopping anyone from going in. Curiosity got the best of him, and he swam inside. At first, it seemed just like any other cave, but as he went deeper, the tunnels stretched endlessly. The narrow paths turned in every direction, making it easy to lose his way. Then he saw a human skull resting on the cave floor. He was scared. Someone had been here before and never made it out. Ocean survival. 2 brothers went on a fishing trip near Fraser Island, but things went wrong as a huge wave hit their 6-meter boat, flipping it over and throwing it into the ocean. They couldn't react in time and just watched their boat sink. Stuck in open water, they held onto a portable cooler and turned on their emergency beacon. The sun was blazing, and they floated for nearly 4 hours, feeling tired and scared. Luckily, the Australian Maritime Safety Authority picked up their signal, and a life flight helicopter arrived just in time. Rescuers lowered a harness and carefully lifted both brothers to safety. What started as a simple fishing trip almost ended in disaster, but their quick thinking and the rescue team saved their lives. Heroic rescue. Police officers in Kenosha, Wisconsin acted fast in a dramatic water rescue near the Lake Michigan shoreline. A passerby had called for help after seeing a young woman sitting on the rocks near Fisherman Drive. As officers arrived, she suddenly went into the water. They quickly rushed in, urging her to hold on. One officer jumped in without hesitation, pulling her back to safety. She was taken in for care, along with the officer who entered the water. The head of the police department praised the officers and the person who made the call, saying their quick actions helped save a life. Cave rescue.
Right now, 18 divers have entered the cave trying to save 13 lives.
In Thailand, a massive rescue mission began to save a youth soccer team and their coach trapped in a flooded cave for 15 days. More than a dozen divers swam through risky, water-filled tunnels. They raced against time to reach the boys. An Australian doctor checked them and confirmed they were in stable condition. That news gave everyone hope. 18 divers carefully guided each child out one by one. Heavy machines were ready for use, but simple, hands-on methods worked best. The rescue was expected to last until the next day, but the rescuers were determined to save all 13 people.
I expect there's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of good feeling between them, so they're going to encourage each other and hopefully keep the spirits up.
River rescue. While fishing in a river in Silvas, the capital of Dadra and Nagar Haveli, a sailor found himself trapped as the water level suddenly rose. The calm river turned into strong currents, leaving him stuck on a small patch of land. Locals nearby saw the risk and acted fast. They tied ropes and carefully worked their way toward him. After a tense effort, they managed to pull him to safety. Thanks to their quick actions, the fisherman was rescued and brought back to shore unharmed. Diver found. A cave diver went missing in Flynn Lick, Tennessee, after getting separated from his friends and losing the guidelines they were following. The search operation was captured through various cameras, showing the tense rescue effort. Ed Sorensen, a world-renowned cave diver, was called in as the last hope. He carefully followed the guidelines through the dark, narrow underwater cave, searching every possible space. After over an hour, he spotted a shimmer on the water's surface, an air pocket. Inside, he found the missing diver alive. With a carefully placed guideline, Ed guided him out safely. The moment they emerged, cheers erupted. When all hope seemed lost, Ed found the way out, bringing the diver back to safety.
So what's that moment like when you come up and you see him actually alive?
Well, I don't know who was more surprised. I think it was more me than him. I never get emotional on these things, but that was an incredible moment.
And now, let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day.
3 fishermen are home this morning after being stranded on a remote Pacific island for more than a week. They were found thanks to a help sign made out of palm fronds.
3 fishermen were stranded on a remote Pacific island for over a week after their boat hit a coral reef and started taking on water. With no way to call for help, they used palm fronds to spell out help on the beach.
The help sign was pretty visible. We could see it from a couple thousand feet up in the air.
They survived on coconuts and water from a small well, waiting for rescue. A U.S. Coast Guard search team covering over 100,000 square miles spotted the sign from the air. A rescue team was sent ashore, bringing them back safely. Their desperate signal had worked just in time.